Hi, it's me again. So, a lot of you have been asking me, how did you develop a relationship with God? So, I grew up in the church. My dad is a licensed minister, which I literally didn't find out until a couple years ago. But I grew up in the church. I grew up Baptist Christian. I no longer belong to a religion. I won't say that at one point I identified as a Christian. But as certain the gifts that I incarnated with and the experiences that I was having with spirits and with God and in the astral realms, everything wasn't in alignment with what I was taught about Christianity. But I definitely I love praise and worship. I love being in communion. I love a good sermon. I really liked church. Some things I was just like, that doesn't resonate with me. This doesn't resonate with me. I don't want to, compartmentalize my beliefs to this, attach my beliefs to this religion, where my experience and my perspective as well is just like vastly different. Not vastly, but just different. So anyway, I grew up Baptist Christian, and early on, my parents, both, they're very heavily involved in the church. My dad spoke every Sunday. They always, they taught me how to pray. I've been praying. I mean, like, I would lose things as a kid. Like, I remember being literally in kindergarten. I lost my book, and I'm like, God, please help me find my book, Lord. Please guide my steps. Like, my parents taught me how to pray at a very young age. So I'm so grateful that they set that example for me, and they always emphasize the importance of God and having God in your life. And that's just how I was brought up. So yeah, I've been seeing spirits and communicating with spirits before I even knew what I was doing, before I even, not only before I had the vernacular, but before I even knew that there was vernacular for what I was, for what I was seeing, for what I was experiencing, for where I was going, for these phenomena that I had no way of explaining to anybody. To this day, like, I can talk about it, but people don't understand what they don't have context for, just like I don't. Like, there's a lot of things in life I don't have context for. So while I can listen and I can, like, wow, like, I don't know what you're talking about exactly, but I'm very intrigued, type of thing. That's how it is, when I explain my encounters with the spirits. But there's so many people. It's such a great big world. I know that there's a lot of people who have had experiences similar to mine. I'm just here to bring awareness, because one thing I always needed as a kid was a safe space to come and talk about these things, because it wasn't always safe to talk about them. Like, I had friends that would get scared, and oh man, not a lot of my friends, but a handful of my friends, I learned about them prior to meeting them through spirits, so I've always had a very interesting relationship with the divine. But I will say that even with seeing spirits, I was still confused as a kid, because, like I said, I was raised Baptist Christian. I was growing up in the church. I was hearing, a lot of condemnation in the church. Like, if you don't believe, and if you don't, there was so much, I was just like, that's not my experience that hasn't been my experience. So, there was one day in particular, I was 14 years old. I will never forget this. I say I will never forget. I think I was 14. I might have been younger. I don't know. I will never forget. I won't forget the moment. I have forgotten the age, but I was young, and I was just like, what is real and what's not? Like, help me. Help me. Like, help me understand. And I got on my knees. And it's, the irony was that the house that I grew up in, my room faced the backyard, and the backyard there was like a fence, and then it was a church right behind my house. And so I could see like the church, I could see the cross, I could see the parking lot, whatever. So I opened the blinds, and I just get on my knees in front of the window, and I'm like, Lord, like, if you're real, I need you to show me. Like, I need you to reveal yourself to me. I want to know you. Like, please reach out to me as I draw near to me, as I reach out for you, as I reach out to you. Like, I want to understand you. I need you in my life. I'm just like professing, like, I'm just calling out. And then I say that I'm crying, like, I had all this like internalized guilt for even questioning whether, like, what God was exactly, even though it's like, I believe in you, but I have so many questions. And then in church, I was raised, Christian, you're taught not to question God, which I think, anyway. So I felt guilty. It was just like all these things, right? Cool. I'm crying. I get up. I walk downstairs. Oh, what I also said in that prayer was, I'm like, Lord, please send me someone to talk to me specifically about you. Please send me someone who can just speak into me about you. Like, I need someone to talk to, because I didn't feel like I could talk to my parents about it. I don't know. I just have always kind of been like, I don't know. When I did ask my parents about stuff, I was that kid. I mean, like, I remember my earliest inquiries about death was preschool. I remember preschool very vividly. And I was asking my mom all this stuff, and she was answering honestly. Like, I'm like, well, like, am I gonna die, or are you gonna die? If I die, will you still be my mom? And she's like, well, no, like, when we die, like, I won't be your mom anymore. I started bawling. She's like, well, stop asking me all those questions. Like, she got frustrated. And naturally, because it's like, why is this 4-year-old asking me about the afterlife? Like, what am I supposed to say to her? So anyway, yeah, I really wanted God to send me someone to talk to me about him, her. Also, I have so much to say. I don't believe that God is a man or a woman. And that's a whole nother video, but that's just the terminology that I've grown up with. That's just what's comfortable for me, so whatever. But I'll get into the technicalities later. So, okay, boom. I go downstairs. My dad's sitting on the couch. And I'm like, we're watching TV. 30 minutes into watching TV. Don't ask me what was on. I don't remember. It was kind of gray out, but it was still like light, but it was gray. We get a dun, 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 dun on the door, right? I'm like, what the heck? So my dad, he looks out. I look out. It's 2 boys in suits at the door. They're young. They're like my age. They're like 12, 13, however old I was. We're around the same age. Young boys. And my dad goes to the store. My dad goes to the door. I literally get chills every time I think about this. And I don't think about it often. It's actually crazy. He goes to the door, and the boy says, "Hi, sir. I'm so-and-so, and this is so-and-so, and we're from a Mormon church." I forgot the name of it. But he was like, "And we've been sent here because someone in your house wants us to talk to them about God." On my life. When I say it was one of those moments, when the hair on your neck stands up the hair on my arm is literally risen right now. And my dad was like,
no, nobody in this house. Nobody in this house needs to talk to you about God. No, we're okay. Nobody, no, you have no arm out.
And he closes the door, and I'm just sitting there like, I never said anything to my dad about it because it was just that was between me and God. So that was like God, like, you know, he gave me a wink, and I'm like, okay. So, you know, asking you shall receive. that was my I think like my first vivid memory of that moment changed everything. I'm like, okay, now I can say this because I've experienced it, and it's you know, my relationship with God is very personal to me. It's between him and I. It's between myself and the divine. It's mine. It's mine. You know, I have cultivated a relationship with God. I've cultivated a relationship with my ancestors, with my spirit guides. You know, it's mine. It's like any of your friendships, your relationships. They're yours specifically. You know, so that's how I first found God. That is how I first found God. You know, and it's interesting because, again, you know, I've been communicating with spirits my whole life, and astral traveling and things like that, and, you know, experiencing demonic attacks and all. I knew enough to know to call on Jesus. That's one thing that my mom taught me to do very early on, because you know, I was so young. I was so young, having all these really traumatic experiences with demons, and my mom made sure that I knew what to do when that happened, because there was only so much that she could do, you know. Fortunately, though, like, my mom, she also sees spirits, so she didn't always she didn't incarnate with the amount of spiritual gifts that I incarnated with, but she knew enough, she's seen enough and experienced enough to know I wasn't tripping. And sometimes I would see a spirit in the house and she would see it too, you know. But sometimes, you know, the spirits that will reveal themselves to me, they didn't always reveal themselves to my mom. And you know, I have so many stories. Y'all just let me know what you want to know. Just let me know what you want to know. But that is where that was my turning point with God. So if you're looking for God, not me being a pastor, period. If you're looking for God, if you're looking to cultivate a relationship with God, literally just ask. Ask the divine, ask the powers that be to communicate with you. Reach out and ask them for that communication, and ask them to help you establish a relationship with them. What does that look like for you? Ask them to bring forth a community that most resonates with you, and figure out what that is for yourself. Like, what is it that resonates with you? You know, just ask and you shall receive. I'll talk to you soon.